11 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers this week. The first guy, Paris Campbell of the Indianapolis Colts. A very surprising to me, Campbell's still out there in 69% of fantasy leagues, because when he plays with Matt Ryan this season, we've seen the big ball games out of him. Going back to week 6 versus Jacksonville, 7 catches, 57 yards, a touchdown on 11 targets. Week 7 at Tennessee, 10 catches, 70 yards, a touchdown on 12 targets. Then week 8, they went to Alger. He only had 2 catches, 43 yards, and 28 rushing yards. And then week 9 at New England with Alger again, 2 catches, 15 yards in that one. And then week 10 when Ryan returned to the lineup, 7 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. So right now, a lot of targets with Matt Ryan in the last 3 starts for Ryan. 31 targets to Paris Campbell. This game's versus the Philadelphia Eagles coming to town in Indianapolis. And it's going to be a ball game where most likely the Colts are going to be trailing and have to throw the football. So Campbell's got speed. Last week we saw him turn like a 10-yard slant into a 40-yard plus touchdown. And this week here versus Philly, I think he's a decent sleeper option as your third receiver or flex option this week. The next guy is Nico Collins of the Houston Texans. So Nico Collins, he's been putting up some decent ball games this season here. Right now, Brandon Cooks really hasn't done much for this Texan team. Nico Collins, he's had double-digit fantasy games in the last 3 out of 4 games he's played in. I know he missed week 8 and week 9, but the few games before that, week 4 versus the Chargers, 3 catches, 82 yards. Week 5 at Jacksonville, 4 catches, 65 yards. Week 7 at Vegas, 3 catches, 33 yards. 8 and 9 he missed. And then week 10 at the Giants, 10 targets in that one. 5 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown. So this week here, a good matchup on paper versus the Washington Commanders that give up the 10th most fantasy points to wide receivers on the league. And another guy that was a hot pickup, I thought, this week here, Collins would have been, but still available in 79% of fantasy leagues. I have him as a sleeper this week, and it wouldn't be surprising to me if, again, 40, 50 yards, and he possibly finds the end zone this week. And the third and final wide receiver I have as a sleeper this week is Demarcus Robinson of the Baltimore Ravens. We know this wide receiving core is banged up, no doubt about it, in Baltimore. We know Rashad Bateman's out for the year. Devin Duvernay really hasn't done much as the number one. They signed Deshaun Jackson a few weeks ago. He played in that week 9 ball game in New Orleans, hurt the hamstring, and hasn't practiced yet this week. And Demarcus Robinson, he's going to be on the field a decent amount of time. So in that week 9 game in New Orleans, he didn't do much, but he did have 4 targets, and Lamar just missed him on a couple end zone shots. So right here, the last few games for Demarcus Robinson. Week 6 at the Giants, 3 catches, 27 yards. Week 7 versus Cleveland, he didn't get targeted in that one. Week 8 at Tampa Bay, 6 catches, 64 yards on 8 targets. And week 9 at the Saints, a catch for 12 yards. So right here, he's going to be on the field a decent amount of times. He's a deep ball threat going back to his Kansas City Chiefs days. And I know if you're in a real pinch, he's a definite sleeper option, available in 96% of fantasy leagues. That's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers here for week 11 of the fantasy football season.